just to get started, I'm sure everybody is wondering, just how are you?
I'm I feel I feel better than I did a week ago. I try and remind myself to voluntarily enter the unknown, that whole thing. Sometimes it's not as voluntary as you would like it to be. But it's been good. I feel excited about the potential of what we're doing. I know there's going to be a lot of like, what is this? What is this? This is a new app. I haven't seen this before. What do you mean this is an educational platform? And we all see, but we're not quite sure when it'll get there, or so there is that element of faith. But
Well, I mean, part of it is I know that you kind of been new to joining the platform. This whole has been moving really fast, but it's already happening, and we've had so many students and teachers join. And just like Rebecca was saying, is that she just didn't know this existed. Nobody knows that this is an option when it comes to the traditional system. It's so hard to question it because it's just the default. We're taught just not to question it. Why think about it? Just go along with what everybody else has done and you'll be fine. But the problem is the world is changing. It has changed in radical ways, and we need to find a way to really update our mental models around what is learning, what is education, what is critical thinking, how does that play a role in education, what is the role of a teacher, and like how much freedom, autonomy should they have, what are the bounds to that, and also how can we really empower families to find the best option for themselves, because more and more we're seeing that education is becoming a decentralized marketplace, and that's really, really important because we can have the free market factors that help people think, okay, well, we're losing students. Why? How can we, find a better solution for actually serving our end users instead of this ginormous system that can't change? I think that there's just a lot of potential here, and maybe you can talk a little bit about, what is Secret Scholars Academy, how has this evolved, what are you thinking about, the new classes coming in, what is the vision of this community?
well, it started when you and your dad initially reached out, and I had that meeting with you all, and you kind of told me about what you were doing, and I get a lot of weird emails and like people I like just and a lot of scams and things. And so I went into, I was like, I try and hear everyone out as much as I can. And so I went into it like that. And I remember by the end of that meeting, I was like, wait a minute, you built an app, like, and this whole thing is autonomous and it allows it all within this one interface. Like, and so I got interested, and we ended up running the beta class. I learned a lot through that. I think we all did. It was originally billed, like, and people can find this on my YouTube channel from a few weeks ago. And I was like, I'm launching a micro school, and it was Warren Smith Academy. And I never liked the name, but I understand why we have since changed the name to Secret Scholars Academy. And I think that's more representative of something that's larger than just me or one person. It's a team effort.
Yeah, definitely. And I also think that I really love the concept of like almost like the secret aspect of it, where it is a community where it's not just out in the public, but there's a certain selection bias as to who comes in there. And generally we've seen it's people who do want to have open and honest discussions around important topics. And we've just been trying to cultivate an environment and a culture where it's like all the things that feel like you're afraid to say, you feel like you're going to be shut down, ridiculed and just dismissed, you can say in this community and we'll have an honest discussion with you. It doesn't mean everyone's going to agree with you. We've already had many, many disagreements, but they're all respectful, and they're all under the consensus understanding of like, we're here to learn, we're here to be better, we're here to find solutions, not just complain about problems. And so I think that just the environment, that culture is just irreplaceable. and something that has just honestly been magical.
Mm-hmm.
But then the aspect of the classes, I know you launched your beta class and now you're rolling out the more finalized version of this. And you can talk a little bit more about kind of what is the vision for that, and what are you hoping to offer to students. And then we can also get into, there's also other classes launched
Mm-hmm.
by teachers who've been vetted, who, share this philosophy. They don't necessarily share all of
Mm-hmm.
your views, all of your methodologies, but we know that they're,
Mm-hmm.
amazing people
Yeah.
who have a lot to offer.
That
But
yeah, we'll use that as an example where we had one student come in to take the beta course, and by the end of that course, he wrote a contra Warren piece that was
yeah.
challenging. I was trying to articulate a method really to get to the Socratic method, but how kind of my personal take on how I like, in a way to try and articulate that to others.
Right.
And so he challenged it, and it led to a great conversation, and people could find that conversation in the backlog on the app, and it ended up, we started talking to him about potentially being involved on the team, and because he was so enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I'll be honest, I was super skeptical about this coming into it, and I've been part of this Discord server, and they actually paid part of the entrance fee for me to be able to come in to try and like make content about this because
Yeah.
some reveal video or something." But he ended up, by the end of it, he ended up joining the team, and he's pivotal to this day. So that was cool to see. But for the vision of what I'm hoping to offer is that what you were talking about, that user experience, the community user experience, where some people, you don't have to come on it just to say, "Oh, I want a certification or a certificate." Or if there's parents with students who are homeschooling, we offer that, and I want that to be a place for it. And we have teachers that specialize that as well. And people that do just want to come in and study philosophy, debate techniques, critical thinking. How does Warren go about, this method he's talking about?
Right.
But it's also the community space where we have hangouts, the more casual outside of class, where people are talking about philosophy, debating. And it's really, that's what I realized from the beta course going into it for the first time. I didn't understand that aspect of it. I thought it was just, so I was like, we have to have the curriculum, everything structured exactly. And it's finding that middle ground between the two. I think it's the path forward for my class, at least. But what's also cool is that each teacher has autonomy and their own vision. It's not like, it's not just up to me. And that's what's really cool, is that we have differing points of view. And everyone, I know there was a lot of questions around, well, are you going to be teaching people your political views or whatnot?
Right.
And my thinking around that is, kind of become my mantra about it. It's how to think, not what to think. And so I think it's all about being able to present. You can present anything if you can back up the logic. I mean, it's about challenging any logic, anything that's presented, being able to navigate whatever is in front of you. And so I invite all of that. And we truly want to encourage diversity of opinion and thinking.
Yeah, well, I think to maybe talk about kind of like, how do you create an environment where it's not like, okay, here's what to think, and create a community and culture where it is, just around, well, what are the specific problems in your life? How do you actually apply these skills in a way where you can know if you're actually thinking critically? That's really, really hard. And because of that, because it is so complicated, you can't just teach a class just being like, okay, so here's the way how to critically think. If you follow the XYZ steps, you'll be able to critically think all the time. And it's like, that's just not how it works. And a big part of thinking critically is being able to surround yourself with people who are willing to challenge you. And so because of this, essentially the whole academy is leveraging a project-based learning model where it's about applying your learning as a way for not only, learning these skills and developing these skills, but also being able to assess whether or not you have these skills. Because if somebody says, oh, well, you have an A from this critical thinking class, what does that
Doesn't
even
mean anything, yeah.
And so essentially the way that this works is throughout all these classes, the classes will cover different sort of, content and topics and methodologies and whatever. But the way that the process that students go through is, well, okay, given these learning objectives, how do I demonstrate that I have these skills, that I have this knowledge through actually applying it in some way? And generally this is in a written format or with, additional like video or image graphics to support, whatever you're trying to communicate. But this also allows students to find, well, what is the problem in my life where I can apply critical thinking, where I can apply these, formats for argumentation and reasoning in places in my life where it's actually relevant. These are problems that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And given that, then you can present that to other people, get their feedback, have them challenge you in real time. These interactions are recorded not for public consumption necessarily, but just as proof, as demonstration that you hold certain skills, like the ability to defend an argument in real time against people who are trying to poke holes in your logic. That's something that can't be objectively assessed, but can be, pretty objectively proven if you just send somebody a video of like, hey, here's me live defending my point of view with like Warren questioning me or other students questioning me. That's something that is, on-demand proof of your competence in certain areas. And so I think that this is something where we don't need to say like, hey, this student got an A in critical thinking because the value of their, certification is equivalent to the value of their
what they can
demonstrations.
do. Yeah, what they can actually do. And we want to, it's cool that we have the potential for a YouTube channel, and that if it allows a way for debates to happen. And obviously, the most engaging content is when people, conflict drives story. And that's why we see people in the debate space destroying students and everything like that. Like it's entertaining to watch, but it can allow as well, though, people that do want to, this space, like the online space of, it does feel like the space is growing. I don't know what we would even call it. I don't know. It's not like a debate. It's larger than a debate space. It's like what would you say?
I think, well, there's just a growing number of options for alternative education. And I think also just smaller communities of people who are around a shared goal. And we see like there's all these platforms where people are sharing publicly, and we're all used to using these platforms, but I think that there is a new generation of social media platforms that is more targeted about actually fostering genuine connections, because somebody comments on your tweet, you don't know this person, like it could even be a bot, and there's no really shared goal that comes from those engagements. And so I think that is a new generation of social media that we really need in order to actually have this valuable discourse required to actually make the world a better place. Like that requires having these deep, hard discussions around what is the actual solution to this problem. We can complain about it all day, but to actually fix it, that's difficult.
That's why I think we've been seeing this. We've been seeing a lot of educators using this to debate educational topics, perhaps because they're not able to have those conversations elsewhere. I'm not sure, but that's a pattern I've been noticing. I think in the beta launch, it was a lot of teachers debating topics around education, like what you were saying, and I think that led to frameworks that we've been implementing. So it's really interesting, this cycle that it becomes this,
Well, just
self.
to be an effective entrepreneur, you have to know how to take feedback and listen to other people and just iterate and improve upon what you're doing. And what we've seen is that a lot of critical thinking is honestly cultivating the mindset of an entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur, you can't you can't hide yourself from the fact that users don't like your product because they're not buying it. Like that's one of the
Right.
claims that we had from one of the students in your in your beta course was how youth entrepreneurship is the best way to teach critical thinking, because you can't hide from reality.
Right.
You're trying to create solutions, and in order to do that, you have to learn a lot
Yeah.
about, what do users want? How do I make an effective product? How do I market it? And if you're failing, it's obvious. You can't hide from it. And because of that, it's a really great way to know, like, do I know what I'm talking about? Can
Yeah.
I actually sell something?
I'm totally new to the space of entrepreneurship, so that's been challenging for me, but it's also exciting. I've always wanted, well, like, I say that because I've never formally considered myself anything like that.
Uh-huh.
But my whole life I have, whether it was making a movie, a short film, trying some crazy project, that's a form of entrepreneurship, though sometimes you don't label it that way to
Yeah.
yourself. So to be around like-minded people in that sense has been, I think that's why it's felt so pivotal at this very moment in my life, because it's kind of like exactly what I need when going through a transition like this, and I am suddenly in the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what entrepreneurship is, and we are at the mercy of the competitive marketplace. But I think that's actually a beautiful thing. Like
Oh,
yeah, it's
definitely.
reality, like you're saying.
Yeah, well, I also think that just the fact that you're helping these educators who are seeing these problems and really supporting that entrepreneurial mindset of like, hey, I really love your academy. I think that there's something missing here that I can provide, that I'm willing to provide. And then you're just empowering them through like, hey, this isn't about, just every go Warren Smith, like you're amazing. But like,
I don't want
just
it to be like
just
that
a
either.
community
Yeah.
around like, hey, we all agree. Like that's
Yeah.
boring. It's not
Yeah.
actually helping anybody grow.
Exactly.
And so really empowering people to come in with a entrepreneurial mindset where they're critically thinking about how can this academy best provide students with what we think they should actually get from an academy like this, which is the ability to think critically and also find solutions to the problems in their lives, and rational decision making, all of that.
And like what
And
Jimmy's doing with
yeah.
the verging of mathematics with logic and
Hmm.
mapping mathematics to logic and game theory. I'm really excited to see what he's rolling out.
Yeah, definitely, because I think it's just that with the current system, a lot of teachers are feeling restricted, and you don't have that creative autonomy to try things out and to fail, because that's an important part of that process of making something new. Is you have to fail in order to learn, and giving them the opportunity to try new things in a place where they don't feel stifled, where they feel like they can actually share their voice around what they think is best for students. And then also a place in which students can voice their opinion and their feedback, so that teachers can effectively, iterate upon what they're doing, to add the most value. And that's something that we've seen missing, especially from education, that I think is just really critical that you're providing through this academy. So
Well, it's
I'm
not just me. It's a lot of people. So yeah, that was, I think, one of the most pivotal things was that change when we took it away from Warren. Yeah, it's not Warren Smith Academy. It's way more than that. So, but I'm so glad that I've been able to do what I can, my part, my little part in all of this. But none of it would even be possible if your sister, and your team hadn't created something so remarkable. And that's a world it blows my mind. I don't know how you do that. And that's truly, I think as we roll out more content and people start taking these classes and learn more about you, I think your story is going to, and your sister and your whole, the story around all of this, there's so much there that this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Well, thank you so much. And I do think that your story is an incredibly powerful force to essentially, reveal all the problems with the current way that we're approaching, education, and just, how do we actually give teachers the opportunity to do what they do best. And you're offering that solution at your academy, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. But thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time.